What's up guys, it's Marvin Payne here, and in this video I wanted to talk about how everything you really want out of life is on the other side of your true authenticity. So I want to talk about why that is, what you actually get out of it, and I want to talk about how to find your true authenticity through working with your emotions, and how working through emotions is especially effective, or a lot more effective than working it through your intellectual, which is what most of the Western society is doing through talk therapy and stuff. So yeah, I think that will be the two main topics for this video. So yeah, the first one, how finding your true authenticity is actually the answer you've been looking for all your life. Maybe you're aware of it, or maybe you're not. But to relate it really to outcomes, to make it relatable, right? Your work life or your business or whatever, it can really only be created through your true authenticity, your true curiosity, obsessions, etc., right? If you don't stay true to yourself, you will probably accept jobs that you really don't like. You just follow the social norm, right? Or you go after certain businesses that just for money, or that isn't really your genuine curiosity or obsession, right? But if you manage to find your true authenticity, you will find your genuine curiosity or obsession. And since it's so genuine to you, you will do it in a way that is so unique, and you're so obsessed with it that no one can really compete with you on it. And yeah, this is really related to what Naval usually says too, right? You know, like, no one can compete with you on being you, right? And that's what I'm pointing to with this. You know, your unique obsessions, your unique curiosity, your unique perspective. And it's not only in terms of the value you give to society, but also for yourself. Since it's your genuine curiosity and obsession, you will also be extremely fulfilled and happy, right? So it's both externally and internally, right? So that's, you know, like the work side of it. Finding your authenticity will also give you everything you want in terms of your social and social life and relationships, right? And it makes sense, right? If you have a certain mask on, or you act a certain way to fit into society, then who you're connecting with on the outside, like, they are not really connecting with you, right? They're connecting with the mask you're putting on. Whether you're putting on like 100% mask, right? Or whether you're putting on like a 50% mask, right? yeah, so they're connecting to that mask instead of the true you. And also, if you're never actually truly authentic, then no one can ever see it. So they can actually never reach out to you because they never see it, right? But if you were true authentic in the first place, and the people that would actually like you for you, when they get the chance to see it, they can actually connect with you, right? But if you never show it or find it for yourself, then it will never happen. Yeah, and this was caused like a lot of suffer in your life, because first of all, you're hanging out with friends and people that you can't really be truly yourself with, and you have to put on a bit of like a mask or performance, right? You can't fully relax, right? And that's friends and close friends, and even in relationships and dating. If you always put on a bit of a mask or performance because you don't believe that you will be good enough, even if you succeed, quote unquote, in getting into a relationship or a girlfriend or boyfriend, because you presented, you showed up to the relationship with this little mask, now you have to keep up the mask, right? You cannot just suddenly remove the mask, because then you kind of tricked the other person into getting into the relationship where they thought that they got into a relationship with this person, which was your mask and not the true you, right? So there's that. Work, relationships, and it's basically your whole life, right? If you finding your authentic self is really the ultimate thing to do. It's really the one thing you can do that will make everything easier or unnecessary, right? When you manage to work through it and find it, everything in your work life, you will find your dream work or business, right? You will find your dreams as a social group or relationship. And how I see it, it's kind of both you can kind of look at it like from a woo-woo point of view, but also on a practical point of view, right? Like from the woo-woo point of view, it's like, what you are, you attract, right? You kind of just, or who you are, you attract. But, and also on this side, the world will kind of just rearrange to who you're showing up to the world, right? And it's very practical, right? As I said, with being social, if you show up as with a mask, the people only see you with the mask on, so they think that's you, and you will attract the people that the mask will get along with. And the people that would have loved you for your true authentic self, they never get a chance to see you. So it's very obvious in social and relationships, but it's exactly the same with work and business. If you follow social norms, or think you need to work this or need to do that, then you will kind of just pursue those jobs instead of going your own way. Or the right work, or if somebody has a project or work where your true authentic self would have fitted perfectly, but you never show up as your true self, so they never actually see that. So they don't get a chance to actually see it, right? And they can't connect with you or reach out to you, right? And relationships social, work, everything in life works kind of that way. So that's why, like, in a very practical sense, the more you show up as your true authentic self, the whole world will just have to rearrange to this new person that you show up as. So that was very externally focused, and I want to touch upon like the internal too. And I guess you can imagine it, right? Like, just imagine internally how you would feel if you were always just your authentic self, right? You know, when you meet your best friend or whoever you're dating, it doesn't require any like energy, right? It's almost like, oh, finally you can let go and just relax, right? That feeling, because you can finally let go of the mask or the performance you're putting on to society. But imagine that relaxed feeling everywhere, every day in your life, because you're just your true authentic self everywhere. So there's never any pressure, because you're never putting on a mask, right? You're just being you, and you're just expressing. So there's never really any need to perform or put on, like, there's never any pressure really. And you can imagine how all the suffering just goes away. Yeah, and I honestly think that, you know, for just like as a collective, that is also the best move, because that is when everyone truly finds their unique selves and unique gifts, which they can bring to the society. So not only for yourself, but for society or the collective as a whole. Yeah, something I wanted to bring into this, maybe it's not that clear how it's connected with authenticity yet, but like true authenticity and unconditional love, those two are very related, right? And why that is important, or why I want to bring it in this video, is because well, first of all, like, all the success, all the things that you're chasing, right? Success, whether that's in work or business or sport or hobby or relationship, what you're really searching for on the other side of it, right, is kind of a feeling, right? Whether that's work, you accomplish something, or you accomplish something and then finally you think the world will give you attention and love, or finally you will feel good enough, right? Or with a relationship, finally someone loves you unconditionally. But the thing is, unconditional love can be found inside yourself without any external things. And the reason I wanted to bring it in is, well, first, it's connected to everything you're chasing, right? And also it's very related. I actually think they're kind of similar, unconditional love and true authenticity, because to even find your true authenticity, you have to work through so much emotions, your past, like, stuck emotions, emotional patterns, trauma. And that is actually how I look at self-love, right? And when you work through all of it, you will find like unconditional love to yourself. And yeah, now I'm bringing in a lot of topics, but also related, that when you finally find unconditional love for yourself, you will see that you can love others unconditionally. Before you can't love others unconditionally unless you love yourself unconditionally. It might be a bit hard to see now, but for example, if you have repressed anger and you see others that are angry, it's very hard for you to love them, because you don't love your own anger, so you project onto them, right? And when you finally do work through your anger or love your anger, when you see other people that get angry, like there's so much empathy. You understand why they do it or what they're struggling with. And it's so easy for you to love them unconditionally. But that is only possible because you love yourself. You work through your anger and love yourself unconditionally through that. I was getting a bit ahead there, but yeah. So I guess that's like the first main point, right? Everything you want in life is actually your true authenticity. Everything you're chasing, it's what you're actually like imagine you get everything what you want. What is that feeling you sit with, And that feeling you can find inside yourself without the external stuff. And the external stuff is actually a trap, because once you get it, you will feel that feeling for, who knows, maybe seconds, days, or weeks. And then you kind of revert back to your default normal state. But if you find it internally, you will have it basically forever, right? You don't need any external things. And another thing that is also ironic is that when you find it inside yourself first, then it's usually easier to get the external success. And that's very related to like the needy energy, right? Like if you're chasing and like you need the other thing, right? Or scarcity, as some people call it, you kind of just push it away, right? It's similar, when somebody is super needy to another person, right? It pushes the other person away. But if the other person, or if you are abundant, right? If your cup is full, if you actually don't need the external success, and then you go after it for fun, just because you're curious, then it's easier for you to get it, right? Exactly the same with the relationships. When you don't need the other person, right? They feel it. Oh, this person doesn't actually need me, right? But you can pursue it, then it's easier for you to actually get it, right? Because neediness or scarcity pushes the other thing away, right? Yeah, so that was a bit of a side tangent. But that's basically the first main point, right? Everything you want in life, work, job, relationships, is on the other side of your true authenticity when you find it again. The second main point I wanted to talk about is why finding your true authenticity through working with your emotions is the most effective. or what I think is the most effective, or one of the most effective, and especially in today's world, where or especially in the Western world that works more through the intellectual, right, or through talk therapy or science, right? Like, it's very intellectual. And yeah, maybe the first thing I can talk about here is like, why is it so ineffective to work through the intellectual? And I guess most of you have a feeling already of why this doesn't work. Like, you already know a lot of people that get things intellectually, but they never change, right? Like, intellectually, it's not that effective. Like, you can understand everything, but still not change, because you don't know how to handle your emotions. You don't know how to take actions, right? And yeah, a lot of people don't even think about the emotional work, right? They don't even know about it. They just think it's impossible to change almost. But it's definitely possible to change. I'm gonna get into the emotional work a bit in a bit. But yeah, and talk therapy too. And I mean, talk therapy, I think, is good, right? I think a lot of people have gotten value from it, but a lot of people have also not gotten any value from it, right? And more often than not, have they worked through the emotional work, or nervous system, you can also say, but had they worked through those systems instead, I think it would have been a lot more effective. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe I can get into, the emotional work, like, what exactly is it? Like, why is it so effective, as opposed to like the intellectual? I firstly say that, your emotions basically dictate everything you do. Like, almost basically any decision you make, you're making it to feel a certain way at the end, right? You're making that decision to, for example, feel success or feel pleasure, or you're making a decision to avoid certain feelings, like avoid feeling like a failure, or avoid embarrassment or shame, right? Like, no matter how much you think a decision is irrational, it's actually emotional, right? The end result you're looking for is based on an emotion. You're just using logic or intellectual or your rational mind on how to get there, but it's still based on an emotion. And the reason a lot of people don't change, or can't be there, or can't find their authentic self, is because they basically have stuck emotions or emotional patterns. Right, or trauma that triggers certain emotions, right? And it still sits in their body. And yeah, like the way emotions work is usually when something triggers you emotionally, especially the first time, right? It wants to kind of get expressed fully, and if it does, then it kind of goes away and it won't control you. But the problem is that when it doesn't get expressed fully, it gets stuck in your body. And then if you never express it or process it, right, it just gets stuck in the body and it builds up, whether that's anger or fear or shame or sadness, right? You know, that's why so there's a lot of situations where might not actually, you know, logically be fearful or scary, but because you have so much stuck fear from before that you never expressed, now this situation that isn't actually scary triggers a lot of fear in you, right? And I'm using fear as an example, but it could be any emotion, you know, anger, right? A situation where most people wouldn't get angry suddenly triggers you and you get very angry for it, you know, or sadness or shame, right? And how it relates to your true authenticity is that if you have all of these repressed emotions, it will kind of dictate how you behave in situations, because those situations will trigger you. And if you have worked through your emotions, right, then those situations wouldn't trigger you emotionally any longer. And now you can respond and be your authentic self. And it's also related to unconditional love, right? Now you can respond to any situation from a place of unconditional love because you've worked through all of your emotions, found your true authenticity. Yeah, there's a lot of like nuggets in the emotional work, right? Another very cool thing is something called the golden algorithm from a guy named Joe Hudson. And the golden algorithm is like this. The emotion you're avoiding or you kind of don't like or don't want to feel, the way you're avoiding it is the exact way you're recreating it. So, to give an example, if you're really scared of, let's say, fear of abandonment, or this is like an emotion you really don't like, don't want to feel it, and you want to run away from it. The way it shows up in relationships usually is that because of this, you become very controlling and you become overly jealous. And what does this do? It it makes it so that you push the other person away and they actually abandon you. They don't want to be in a relationship anymore, right? So because you were so scared of the feeling, the emotion, the fear of abandonment, you became jealous or overly controlling, and the other person abandoned you. And now you have to feel the fear of abandonment again, right? So the way you avoided it, you recreate it in your life. And it's interesting. It's almost like the body wants you to like it has to feel this emotion. So if you don't feel it alone, it makes you behave in a way where the emotion will have to show up in your life, right? Because you avoided the fear of abandonment, your body forced you to become jealous or controlling so that the other person left, and now you have to feel the emotion, right? And that cycle will go again and again until you face the emotion for yourself, the fear of abandonment. And once you face it and actually feel it and are not scared of it anymore, you will notice that, okay, now your body don't need to recreate it anymore because now you felt it, right? So you will see that the pattern dissolves. And this works for every emotion, right? In this example, I gave the fear of abandonment, but it could be anything. It could be shame, be sadness, anger, right? For example, let's say anger. You're really scared of the emotion anger. You don't want to feel it, so every time you actually get angry, you repress it. And how will this golden algorithm work? It could be both turned like inwards toward yourself or to others, right? Toward yourself, it could be because you're repressing it, you start to criticize yourself a lot. Or outwardly, it could be that you become very passive aggressive. Or you could lose control when you get angry, right? Because you repress it so much that when you get triggered, you get like violent or something like that, right? But if you were to feel it naturally or the way it wanted to be felt from the beginning, you didn't repress it, and you're gonna express it in a healthy way, right? Whether that's, and by that I mean like, you're not like expressing the anger at somebody, but you have to express it out somehow, right? So that could be alone in your room screaming, or training or whatever. But what I'm trying to get at is that when your anger is clean, it's like it's like how Martin Luther King or Gandhi, or how they showed anger, right? And this I got from Joe Hudson too, right? That is like the clean expression of anger, right? And you see how powerful that is, especially as opposed to repressed anger when it turns passive aggressive or overly violent, for example. So that's like how emotions really control everything in your life. And that's why like working through the intellectual mind, it's so ineffective, because you're still getting controlled by your emotions. And you see how your emotions, make you suffer or make you stay stuck, right? And you can also see how when you finally work with your emotions, now you can actually change or behave in the way you want. And it's a journey. It's a long journey, because you want to work through each emotion, right? And in this video, I kind of just wanted to give it like a general overview, but I think I want to make like a series where I make videos on each emotion, and it could actually be multiple videos on one emotion, right? Because there's a lot there. And what I'm thinking is like working through the common negative emotions first, like fear, shame is a big one, anger, right? Sadness. And then I'll also get into the positive emotions like, joy and pleasure. Yeah. And also something very interesting related to this is that most people are not aware of it, but a lot of people actually also repress the positive emotions like joy or excitement. And that creates also a lot of suffering in their life without them knowing, right? And to give you an example of why, right? Almost everyone had the experience of, when they were younger, they got very excited, and then your parents told you, hey, don't get too excited, right? And you see it with kids, right? They can get so excited, but the parents just say like, hey, don't get too excited. So you get programmed very early on to repress your excitement, which is really a positive emotion, right? And when you work through all of the emotions, you will actually most often notice that the positive emotions is actually more difficult than the negative emotions like fear and shame, which is kind of crazy to think about. Right. And even pleasure, right? When you eat something very nice, you would probably moan, right? Like you eat something like you're like, this is like super delicious. But if you were to fully feel the pleasure or the moan, like, if you were to do it in a restaurant, people will look very weird at you, right? So society kind of look down on it and kind of program you to not feel it fully, right? Everybody's like, when you get a bit angry, that's fine by societal standards. When you cry a bit, it's fine. But if you were to enjoy a meal like fully, that's not fine, right? If you were to moan by just eating your meal, people will give you a lot of weird looks, right? So, yeah, I'm thinking of making a video or multiple videos on each emotion, and I will start with the most common negative ones, with fear, fear, shame, anger, sadness, and I also will go into the positive ones. Yeah, maybe I can share it here too. Like a big part of why I'm making this video and want to make that series is because that's how I did it, right? And how I found my true authenticity through that, mainly through the emotional work. There was a few other things too, There's some like intellectual and some like relational work, but it's the emotional work that was like the most potent one, you can say. And yeah, it basically changed my life. And it was like so clear that everything I was chasing before that externally was actually to get to this feeling. Right? I realized that, no matter how much money I got or success, or if I got the perfect, relationship, whatever, all of it led to this feeling of, you can say, unconditional love. But it's also like the authenticity. Like when you work through all of the emotions, you will come into a state of unconditional love. and you will finally be your true authentic self. So I'm kind of using unconditional love and true authenticity a bit interchangeably because they're so related. Yeah. But yeah, basically it changed like my life, right? Like before finding my true authenticity, everything in my life was to it was driven by this feeling of not feeling good enough. And I mean like everything, whether that was work, business, relationships, everything, just small things throughout the day too. And after working through all the emotions, and you get into this state of, or place of unconditional love and true authenticity, you get an internal feeling that you are enough, right? You feel good enough without needing anything externally. You don't need to chase anything, and there's such like a peace and joy in it, right? And you can imagine living life from that place, right? And paradoxically, from that place you will also start to attract more external success, like I said earlier. So I think that's everything I wanted to talk about in this video. It was two main things, right? Why finding your true authenticity is actually the answer you've been looking for, whether you know it or not, right? And second, why I think finding it through the emotional work is the most effective, right? And in the future, I will make multiple videos on each emotions, and how to work through them, and the wisdom of the emotions, right? And how to not be controlled by them, you can say. Yeah, I think that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.